Spoken Flick. How are you today? It's a crisp, cool day, sunny day in Portugal. And like I was saying, riding my bicycle around, and it's a beautiful day for riding your bicycle around. Doing your little Pee Wee Herman for the world is that we're all black boxes living inside a black box, surrounded by other black boxes in a huge black box we call the universe that's probably just in a much, how do you even call something that's nothing, huge black box? Dark matter, dark energy, iPhones, whatnots. We really don't know how any of these systems work. And if we have any idea how any systems work, it's because we're well read in the subject of chemistry or biology or mechanics or physics or politics or marketing, propaganda, whatever. And most of us just aren't. We're not readers. We don't read, but we have opinions that we get from other people with opinions. And then we go and we tell our viewers what our opinions are based on our biases that lead us towards the opinions of others who are not readers. So the big point is that if you're really interested in something, read up on it. Good books, well-referenced books, books by experts. Don't be afraid of the experts. They put a lot of time and energy and hard work into understanding what little they know about what they know. And even if it's skewed ideologically or politically, or even if it's wrong, you know, the consensus of science changes from time to time, as we know, so they might be less right today than they are tomorrow. But if we skew towards well-referenced expert writers who are obviously readers, or they couldn't write what they write, as opposed to bloggers who more or less parrot other people's opinions. So a lot of editorial and not much depth or understanding. And since we don't know shit, this is a big black box, maybe we need to employ some humility, you know, and just admit we don't know shit. And then if we want to know about something, we can do some reading on it. And if we don't understand statistics or the math or the vocabulary or the period of history or the context or the philosophical bent or whatever, we can always learn about it. We have the resources, and that will make us more sovereign. That will give us more agency. That will help us make better decisions. And we need to do that right now. So like I mentioned, Schmachtenberger's Consilience Project, I'm a big fan of that idea. I wish people would get on board with that, but it's far more emotionally satisfying just to be pissed off and outraged and think we know it all, to delude ourselves, which is unfortunate. I'm sorry about that. So yeah, but you know, we're much more prone to feed our addictions than to search for balance in life and to recognize the complexity of things and the nuances and say, well, you know, I don't know a whole bunch, but I'm happy. You know? That's what I wanted to say, that whole rambling bicycle ride. I hope you like the scenery anyway. And I'm going to talk more about that, hopefully with some friends soon. Over the holidays, I had some nice conversations. I'd like to delve into a few things. There are some interesting developments in Web3 and whatnot. Do any of us really understand this stuff? And who's going to decide what the metaverse is and how it's going to be used? I'm just scared that I'm going to be taxed every 5 minutes. I'm going to be spending micropayments in cryptocurrency every time I take a breath or have a thought. That freaks me out. So I'd like to talk about that, but I'm just learning about it. I'd like to turn Santa Catarina into a global media village, and take all these old factories and turn them into studios and have people come here and live here and have companies and whatnot and revitalize the countryside, act local, think global kind of stuff. And that's another thing. People always get mad when you say you're some kind of crazy guy, globalist. No, there are certain things that need to be solved on a bigger scale, either federal government, or globally by governments cooperating through other organizations and institutions. And then there are most of the things we have to deal with. We could sort out locally, but we don't have all the resources for everything we want to do right here in Santa Catarina. We have to source resources from other places. We got to get a handle on our extraction, consumption economy and figure out a way to make it sustainable. Boy, that word's getting old, isn't it? Got old a long time ago, but there is something to it after all. But yeah, there are some global challenges we need to sort out across cultures, which means we have to work with people that we just don't like. They don't make any sense. They're not my kind of people. And we have to do that for the good of you and yours, if we have to think of it that way, because it's too hard to think of the other guy getting a benefit that I don't want him to have. I get that. That's a big fly in the ointment for most people. Healthcare, yeah, I'd love to have healthcare, but does that mean they get it? In that case, forget it, man. I'll call the witch doctor. I'll get some Reiki. Anyway, that's it. You want to learn about all these black boxes that we're surrounded by, that we live in, that we are? You got to do some reading. So I wish you'd become readers rather than critics of people's opinions that are informed by other people's opinions that are formed by people who don't read, who aren't readers. And if you need to learn about the bullshit detector kits and critical thinking and how to read a science paper, all the resources are there on the World Wide Web. And we can do that. So globehackers.com, cospelon.eu. It's a resource that I'm developing or curating. It's a place where you can get good links to good websites that I think are useful and helpful and genuine and sincere and earnest and not full of crap. And there are some book suggestions there, and then my little blog that just goes on and on and on about the things I'm concerned with and values I believe in that I think other people in the world believe in. And basically a lifestyle of just how to live a happy life. There's no secret to it. It's what your grandma told you when you were young. Get a good night's sleep, eat good food, hang out with good people, do interesting things, learn stuff, read books. Eat good food, exercise, which is why I ride my bicycle and have a gym in my house. Not because I'm going to be all that, but because it makes me happy. And so we have to curtail and struggle against all the addictions. And right now, big business is more or less, they've got that sorted, right? How to get us addicted to whatever they're offering. We have to be mindful of that. Not to say that Google is bad or that YouTube is bad or anything that I'm particularly addicted to, although I don't think I am. I spend 15 minutes or 20 minutes in the morning and the evening looking through things that I'm reading, and then I read books and I watch some YouTube, and it all piles up. But I'm not sitting there in front of the screens or swiping my phone hour after hour. I'm out and about doing stuff. And that's how we should be. I just wish I was doing it in community with other people more. The pandemic has thrown a monkey wrench into that dream. But hopefully that'll end, and hopefully there'll be 2 or 3 people in the area that don't mind having a conversation with a person like me. And hopefully we can do projects together. So yeah, okay, how do you come up with a token and a model or a structure to develop a global media village in the countryside north of Lisbon, Portugal, and make it a productive, happy community where people do things together and make a difference in the world and play together and struggle together and argue with one another and do all those human things? Because the local global balance has got to come into play. We're simply not going to be able to fend off global trade or live in gated communities or walled off countries. It's not going to work. Unless we go back, several centuries and want to live like we did way back when. We have to sort out problems with the perception of inequality and access to resources and services that are necessary, part of the commons, right? Even though the other guy might benefit from it a little bit. You got to understand that the Ruskies and the Celestials in China and the Africans running around in Africa and the Europeans, we're all just people. We're Homo sapiens. And if you traveled as much as I have in my life and lived in as many countries as I have lived in, you would understand they're just people. And maybe you'd understand that they're a lot like you. And maybe you'd calculate that enmity is more costly and more damaging than trying to develop friendships, trying to cooperate with one another and create together. I don't see how those values are crazy. If you want to call me normie, if you want to call me naive or something, I think most people want that. So most people are naive, even though they may have their ear to the ground listening to shock jocks 8 hours a day, or to their preacher at the mega church, or to the conspiracy theorist on YouTube, wherever you're getting your high, getting juiced up on outrage and excited about all the things that the rest of the people just don't get. Before you do that, pause, take a minute to make an accounting of yourself, your own thoughts and feelings, and see if you wouldn't rather have things just be more peaceful and easier, more smooth and efficient, where people actually cared about what they did and took pride in their work and got excited about learning things. I don't see why that's so crazy. I really don't. And I don't see why I should label that with some political label or ideological label. People struggle to get at the same things in different ways, and we all have little slivers of perception that are valid, that shed light, that inspire, that help us in our daily lives get on with things. And we need all these little slivers and perceptions and understandings and this knowledge base, this creative impetus to come together sometimes to get things done. We can't all just be radical libertarian free birds existing off of the fruit of the land. That just doesn't happen. You make your micro payments in cryptocurrency or in stable dollars, whatever, we payments to pay for your electric truck that powers your electric home, that's powered by coal and nuclear power. I don't know, I'm kidding. But we're dependent on all these things. We are dependents of all kinds of things. And most of it we don't understand. We don't know anything about. We're totally ignorant. And even if we watch a 15-minute video on YouTube that tells us how the battery works, we still don't understand it. We don't even know if it's true or not, unless we spend time reading the material science, the broader context in terms of philosophy and politics and economics. Understanding, structuralism. It's not all bad. Things are annoying because we allow them to annoy us and because we're addicted to being annoyed. But we don't have to be. We can take control of our lives. Calm down, relax, read a book. Read a good book. Spend at least an hour a day on that activity, at least. And get away from the noise. Because the black box is going to eat you, man. I don't know how long our species is going to be in this universe, but I dream about thousands of years into the future and what more we're going to learn about this black box we call the universe. And I'm sorry, but the Bhagavad Gita and the Buddhist canons and the Tao Te Ching and the Bible and the New Testament it isn't enough. They're all nice stories full of wisdom and inspiration, but not enough for me. So I'd like to see what we can learn if our species doesn't die. And for our species to continue to live on this earth, we're going to have to take into account natural services, natural capital, and value it and tend it, be good stewards of it, and make sure that it lasts for future generations, or we're not going to get there. Because you're not going to figure it all out in the next 10 years, no matter how smart you think you are. When you're 90, if you're lucky, you're going to be reading. Like Sewell, this conservative guy I put on my homepage for people to understand. People like Justice Powell and Sewell may irk liberals or progressives a bit, but they're brilliant people and you can learn a lot from them. But they all have something to say, and you can learn a lot about how the system works based on their thinking and their reading. And you're talking about a guy who's written 5 books since he was 80, Sewell. That's unbelievable. So you can imagine he's not just writing books, he's reading books. He was a lifelong reader, and that's why he has something to say. And even if it's not up your political alley, it's brilliant. Really great insights that we can all learn a lot from. And if we learn from each other, we'd be much less likely to hate each other. Right? So, I'm a biased idiot, but I'm trying, and trying makes me happy. I really enjoy it. I'm not depressed. And I think one of the reasons I'm not depressed is I've been intellectually and physically active my whole life and helped me dodge some bullets. So anyway, I'll see you in the black box, my friends. Take good care. Booleam T. Out.